Hello, fiber friends. Welcome to another episode of the Knit, Knot, and Weave podcast. My name is Dorothy, and I am coming to you from Columbia, Maryland. Columbia is approximately halfway between Baltimore and Washington, D.C. So this is just my little corner of the YouTube where I have been journaling my fibery adventures. Mainly it's been knitting and crocheting. There has been some weaving, some yarn dyeing, and now we'll be adding spinning to the mix. I swore to myself that I would not pick up another hobby, but it looks like I have. So if this sounds like something that you are into, welcome to the crazy. Sit back, relax, grab your knitting and your crocheting, grab a cup of something to keep you well and hydrated. I have a cup of coffee here this morning, and without further ado, let's get started. So hello, fiber friends. Once again, my name is Dorothy, and this is the Knit, Knot, and Weave podcast. I have several finished objects to share with you. Some you have not even seen in progress because I have been away for a month. I have several whips to catch you guys up on and a few new cast-ons to share with you all. So thank you so much for coming back and viewing my videos. And if you are a new subscriber, thank you so much. I appreciate you all coming to watch me in my little corner of the YouTube. So you can find me on Instagram as Knit, Knot, and Weave, and you can find me on Ravelry as Philia. All the projects that I'm going to share with you today will be listed down below in the description box. There's probably either a little down arrow or a little button that says more that you can click on, and you'll see all the show notes listed below. So today is, I can't remember if I said this or not, Saturday, March 23rd. Like I said, I have been away for a month. The first time I was supposed to podcast, I had just received news that my aunt had suddenly passed away. She lived in Florida, and I'm not, it was unexpected. I'm still not sure of exactly what happened. It is, I guess for lack of a better way to put it, it was not a side of the family that I was super close to, but this was a very loving aunt, and I'm very sorry she passed. My uncle passed during COVID, and we did not get to go to the funeral then because of COVID. It was obviously, the memorial was Zoomed, so we were able to watch that. And because my aunt had died so unexpectedly, I could not afford a plane ticket down to Florida, but my parents were down there. They have a condo down there, so they were already down there. And my older sister was down there helping my mom and dad remodel the bathrooms that are in their condo. So family was present. They went to the funeral. And all I know is that she had a heart attack, and the paramedics were unable to revive her. And so I miss my Aunt Jen, but she is now up in wherever she is, up in heaven or wherever, with Uncle Dom, and I'm sure they are happy together again. And 2 weeks after that, I had received word that a friend of ours from my knitting group had passed away as well. My friend Judy had had a stroke, I guess about 4 years ago. It was before COVID hit. It was before COVID hit, and then her husband Jeff passed away in the middle of COVID. And because Judy had some issues post her stroke, her son, who lives out in Colorado, came out here and basically packed his mom up and took her out there, and him and his wife Nicole took care of her. They visited her daily. They had daily conversations and talks, and I guess her health declined the last few months, and she passed away. And a week ago, she was flown up here, and we had a graveside memorial for her. And in essence, we had a graveside memorial for her and her husband, since none of us were able to attend when Jeff passed, because it was, like I said, in the middle of COVID, and even burials, outdoor burials, were being limited as to who could come out. And so we had a service for her. Several members from the knitting group went, several of her friends came out, and it was a very lovely day. It was a cold, overcast day, but it was very I don't know what the right word is, but when her son was speaking, the sun came out and shone down, and it was kind of like Judy saying, "I'm here, I love you, we're okay." And so that's been taking up most of my time. I am glad that Judy was brought back home, and she is laid to rest with her husband, and they are both laid to rest like right next to their best friends in the world, and so it was very nice. Last time we spoke, I was heading out for a girls' weekend with several friends. We were heading up into the mountains of Maryland. We were in Knoxville, Maryland. There is a home out there there's basically I wouldn't say it was a B&B. They call it a retreat center, but it's basically a house that's been remodeled, and a lot of rooms were turned into bedrooms, so it could be like a retreat center. And we had a wonderful, relaxing weekend. We did have snow while we were out there, and that was lovely. I managed to wake up one morning, and my roommate Kit had already opened the windows, and it was just so pretty and white, and to see the snow on the trees, it was just like no better way to wake up. Okay, well, I shouldn't say that. For me, one better way to wake up would be to have the ocean waves outside my window. But if I couldn't have ocean waves, then definitely snowfall on the trees is just as beautiful. And so that is what I have been up to the last few months. I am still going to my gym. I am still working out. Our Macro Stacks challenge is over, but we should be starting another one soon. I'm happy to say that I am maintaining my 9.3 pound weight loss. So slowly but surely. And I am grateful for that. And I am now on spring break. So I don't have any major plans. I am hoping to get a little bit more decluttering done in my house. I was hoping to buy some Billy bookcases from IKEA and start reorganizing my craft room so I could get back up there and have my space back. But unfortunately, the pieces of furniture that I want are sold out. I don't know how long they will be out, So that has put a little kibosh on me doing my craft room. But anywho, let's get on to the fibery goodness, shall we? So first up, I guess I will share with you what I am wearing, and this is the Be Simple, is that it? Oh, yeah. Yes, Be Simple Variation Shawl. It is a free download on Ravelry. I used some yarn that I had dyed myself. It's a pretty lavendery, lilac-y background with some hints of a dark purple and like a raspberry pink in it and a little blue. And it was just perfect for this shawl. The pattern, I believe, calls for, I think 420 yards. So basically, you know, one fingering weight skein of yarn. And I used a 4mm needle, so a US size 6. Very simple pattern to memorize. And I started this because I was heading out, I should say the next day I had an all-day training at my job. And so the night before I pulled this out, and I want to say I got started, I think I'd stopped that night right at about here. And I probably knitted from here to approximately here. So it really, like I said, it really was an all-day meeting, and I definitely listen better when I have things for my hands to do. So it's a cute little shawlette. I do enjoy these little one skein wonders, as I call them. They add a little pop of color. I don't tend to wear a lot of layers because, well, you know, that time of the age where, you know, you just kind of have these little personal summers, as we call them, us women. And so I don't tend to wear a lot of layers, but I do like to have a punch of color sometimes. So this was just perfect. And I probably see a few more of these in my future, as well as probably a few more. And of course, the name of the pattern went right out of my brain. You know what's going to happen. I'm going to fall asleep tonight, and about 3 a.m. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be like, oh, that was the name of the pattern. Just my luck, right? So, the next finished object what is that? Finished object I'm going to share with you is another granny triangle shawl. It is the Granny Wrap by Anna Boo House. It is again another free pattern on Ravelry. I used Karen Big Cakes. I used 2 of them for my stash, and I used a 6mm crochet hook. And what is that? An I or J? I know a 5.0 is an H. So it's either I or a J, but it was a 6mm crochet hook. Followed the pattern pretty much with the exception of the edging. What I did for the edging is I did 2 rows of just double crochet to finish it off. And then the very last row is the crab stitch, and it gives it a very nice picot edge. And this is a lovely shawl. It's nice and big. It's the perfect shawl for home. I'm sure I've shared this in the past. I don't tend to keep my heat on very high in the winter time. I have what am I trying to say? I have a heat pump, and they're not the best at keeping a house warm. So instead of running up my electricity bills in the wintertime, I tend to just layer up at home. And so this is something that when I am sitting on my couch in front of this lovely window that probably needs to be replaced, but I don't have money to replace my windows right now. And I just throw on a shawl around my shoulders. It keeps my shoulders and my arms warm. And then I usually throw a blanket over my legs and feet, and that keeps everything warm. But this was a very, very fun knit. I'm sorry. This was a very, very fun crochet. I do enjoy the granny stitch pattern. I think it's a lot of fun. I did go on quite a crochet kick this last month. I tend to get in these moods sometimes, and so I have several crochet projects to share with you today. So again, this is the granny wrap, and I will have all the information on my projects and everything I share in the information box down below. So if you just scroll down a little, you'll see maybe either a down arrow or the word more, and you would click on it and it would open up the description box, and that's where I will have all that information for you. And then next up, I did manage to finish my Rygate hat. And this is Passion Knits yarn. It is her Decadent DK base, 100% superwash merino, 246 yards. And it's called Mulberry Wine, and it is a gradient. Very, very nice colors. And I think I had about 6 inches left when I finished. So it did use all the yarns. I didn't make any modifications. I knit it to pattern, and I'm probably going to regret this when I take it. Ooh. And it looks quite lovely. It's a nice double covering over the ears. It's the mock cable, so it's a 1x1 cabling, and it's a very lovely piece. I wish she had a colorway that was that solid color, but she did not when I had seen her. And this is the Rygate hat. The Rygate hat is by Claire Bouchard. It is a purchased pattern on Ravelry, but there is a link to her website where it is a free pattern if you don't mind scrolling through the advertisements that are on the website. I used a 3.5mm needle for this, 16-inch circular, and then of course when I couldn't go any further, I went down to double pointed needles to finish off the hat. It's very lovely, and this will be a perfect gift for somebody. I don't know who, unless I keep it for myself, and that's quite possible since these are my colors as well. So there is that. And then again, like I said, I was on a crochet kick, and I decided to pull out some more of my mandala yarn, and I had 2 skeins of this colorway. It was the Valkyrie colorway, and with a 5mm crochet hook, I did a simple linen stitch, diagonal linen stitch. So you start down at the corner, and then you increase, and then at a certain point when it is as wide as you want it, you will then increase on one side and decrease on the other side until you get the height that you want, and then you will start decreasing. Ooh, excuse me. And then the only modification, there was no real there's no real pattern that I followed for this. There is there's so many corner to corner linen stitch blankets on free patterns on Ravelry. There are several YouTube tutorials on how to do the corner to corner linen stitch. I had done several of these during COVID, during the actual lockdown of COVID, so I have this pattern kind of memorized by now. And the only thing I did differently was that at the end I just did a nice single crochet border all the way around, just to sort of finish it off and give it a nice edging. I had contemplated doing a scalloped edge, but I decided I would wait and see, depending upon if there is a baby in the future, whether they know if it's a boy or a girl. I may add a shell border, or I may just add tassels at the corner, depending. But the mandala yarn is a very nice yarn. Acrylic has come a very long way since when I first started crocheting years ago. But this is super soft, and mandala just gets softer once you've thrown it in the wash. And that's nice because parents need to be able to throw blankets in the wash, because for those of us that have been around babies, we know that they spit up and they have explosions, let's just say, and so things need to be washable. And I really feel like mandala yarn just gets softer when you wash it. So this will go in the gift box for whenever a little one seems to come about, whether it's a family member that's having one or maybe a coworker. I have even shared with my cousins and my older nieces that if any of their friends have babies, just let me know. I'll be happy to knit or crochet items for them. And if they can find yarn in my stash, great. If they don't like colors in my stash, they can just go buy me the yarn and I'll be happy to make it for them. Now, next up, I couldn't resist. I have a niece. She is going to be, oh God, I go through this all the time. She turned 21 in 2020 in COVID. So 21, 22, so she is going to be 25 this year, right? 21? Yes, she's going to be 25 this year in May. And I got a text message from her mom, my sister, saying that Juliana would really love one of these. And so I made one. It's a little Yip Yip. And it goes, you could put it over the rearview mirror in your car. So this is a little mini Yip Yip. I just used some worsted weight yarn that I had in my stash. It is a video on YouTube that I had followed, so I will have that video linked below. It's very quick, very easy. It was made in a day. The eyeballs were also crocheted, and then you used 10mm safety eyes in the center. Whoops. And then you added all the tassels, and there you have a Yip Yip.
Yep, 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 yep. Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Oh.
And I couldn't stop there. I figured if one little Yip Yip would make her happy, then certainly a big Yip Yip she would enjoy just the same. And the funny part is the reason why I made her a red one is because she actually has a red Yip Yip costume that she wears on Halloween. Now this pattern, I had the pattern for somewhere. And of course now I can't find it. But this is a free pattern on Ravelry. It is, there's two versions. There is a crochet version and a knit version. I just went ahead and followed the crochet version. This was red, I think it's Bernat blanket. I'm not even sure what it was because it had no tags on it. The eyeballs are ping pong balls. And then the little antennae are chenille stems. I found these on Amazon. These are like super thick chenille stems. So that's the only thing that's missing on this one, is I have to add regular chenille stems to this one. But these were like super thick. This is one solid, but it's super thick. And the only thing left to do on this, there are instructions on how to line it with a piece of black felt fabric. So that's the only thing I have not done yet, but yip, 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 yip. Yeah, I grew up on Sesame Street too, so this was a lot of fun. I have this yarn in blue and orange, so I may make one for a friend of mine who is very into Yip Yips as well.
Oh! Yip, 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 yip.
So I did use an L crochet hook on this one, and no, I didn't. I used an N. I used a 10mm crochet hook on this project. So I started this at a knit night, and surprisingly working with this yarn is very rough on the hands. I guess I'm not used to working with thick yarns and crocheting, but it is done. I just need to get the lining in, and her birthday present will be finished. So that is pretty much the last of my finished objects. The only other finished objects I had for you it's the yarn that I spun up. So this was my first attempt at spinning. This was I had some roving, and this was Corriedale roving that I spun up. So this was my first attempt, and it is, I have not wet blocked it yet, but this is just practice spinning. This is what I did on my girls' weekend. That's when I was taught how to spin. And this Cheviot, this Corriedale fiber was very, very lovely, very smoothly goes through the hands. And then when I came home, I attempted to keep going, and I had some Cheviot fiber in my stash. I had fiber in my stash because I was practicing how to dye fiber, as well as, dyeing skeins of yarn. And I had read somewhere that Cheviot was a good yarn to learn how to spin on. And I'm not sure I buy that. This was definitely not as smooth spinning, as the Corriedale, and you can see how springy it is. It's definitely got some very, very overspun areas. And so this too has to be wet blocked. So we'll see if any of those kinks come out. Now, neither one of these have been plied, so they are both single ply. And I thought that I would probably dye them up and use them probably in my weaving. So, but the Corriedale is nice and soft. The Cheviot, it's not rough like Icelandic wool rough. I think it would be fine against the skin, but it was not the easiest to spin with for a beginner. So I wish I could remember where I read that for Cheviot as a beginning spinner, but I don't agree. Corriedale definitely, and I can't really speak to much else because I've only done those two, and then I did some merino. And so here is my third spin, my third and fourth spin, and my first plied yarn. So the blue is a merino base that I got from my friend Patrick. And then the cream is more of the Cheviot base. It has not been wet blocked, but I was very, very surprised. To my understanding, if it comes off the nitty knotty like this, it's considered a pretty balanced spin. So I was pleased for that. I did let it sit on the, why can't I think of the names of those now? Spindles. I did let it sit on the spindles for a while before I put it on the knitting, before I wound it up on the nitty knotty. But this definitely could use a good wet and a thwacking. And then here is what remains of the leftovers. Now this one is definitely kinky curly, which is what I was really expecting for my first ply. As you could see, as soon as I let it go, it just twists all the way up. So, but again, maybe it'll even out some after it's been wet blocked and thwacked. This should be interesting. I've never thwacked before, but I guess I'll be able to allow my inner dominatrix out when I do my thwacking. And so that is all I have for finished objects. So I guess I will share my works in progresses now. So my first whip is in my library bag. And it is my Pure Comfort cardigan by Andrea Yetman. And let me see, where am I? So I have the body of the shawl completed. The shawl. Oh gosh. I have the body of the cardigan completed. I did do a modification. I did not do the pockets as were in the pattern. My other folks in my knitting group had knit it and they were not too pleased with the way the pockets came out. So I actually think I am going to do afterthought pockets. I was going to do a patch pocket, but because this yarn is so variegated and because I don't have any more in this, like from these skeins, I didn't want to make a patch pocket, but I thought if I made an afterthought pocket, at least you wouldn't see the inside if the skein is, you know, slightly lighter or slightly darker. I am doing both sleeves 2 at a time, so I'm not very far. So here I am, and I'm doing them 2 at a time. And then once the sleeves are done, there's a huge beast, as we lovingly refer to this cardigan in my knitting group. It's a beast of a shawl collar that's all fisherman's rib that goes all the way around. So I will put a little progress keeper on here as to where I am so that I'll be able to show you next time how much more I get done. So here we are, a little dragonfly progress keeper. I don't know where I got that progress keeper from, but I am using 4mm needles, and I'm using my Chow-Goos on a long 47-inch, probably even 60-inch cable to do the 2 sleeves at once. The yarn is Malabrigo Rios. I absolutely love this yarn. And I am doing helical knitting. So I have 2 skeins for each sleeve to try and mix it up, because like I said, some skeins turned out to be very, very dark, and other skeins turned out to be very, very light. Like this one has way more brown in it. This one is much more berry. Here's another that's kind of in between. So I thought the best way to go about that was to do the helical knitting. And again, this is a free pattern. It is off the Biscotti Yarns website. There's the pattern, or there's the picture of the cardigan. I'll probably put a better picture up here that I can find online. And that is where I am on that cardigan. Next up, here is a bag from Maddie's mom, Maddie from We Share Needles podcast. Her mom sells bags on Instagram, and it's I will put it here. I can't seem to ever remember her mom's name. But this is my Corrie and Poncho by Amy Palco. And I am holding 2 yarns together. I am holding a skein of 2 Dragonfly Fiber Damsel, and then a skein of Umu. So it's Dragonfly Fibers, and it's the Damsel base in the Big Apple colorway. And then I am holding it with Amano's Umu. And this is a lovely, lovely mix of alpaca, mohair, and merino, I believe. So it is 30% Suri mohair, 37% Suri baby mohair. Oh my God. Let me try that again. 37% baby Suri, 37% super kid mohair, and 26% mulberry silk. It is to die for. And I held it together with my damsel because I had 3 skeins of damsel, and they were 3 very different skeins. And I needed a way to be able to blend them together, because as you can see, this skein is super, super dark. What's left of the second skein was like the mid dark range. And what I had started with had hardly any black to it. So I thought the furriness of the light purple would mute it out some, and you can't really tell. I did not do helical knitting on this one. I just sort of started and prayed that the mohair and alpaca mix would cover it up, and I think it's done a wonderful job. It is long enough. I'm ready to start the ribbing at the bottom, and I think I'm just going to start it with the really dark yarn and see what happens. But it is, oh, It is so squishy, so super soft and luxurious. I'm almost sad that winter is over because I would love to wear this at least once when I finish it. But this will probably be something that I will keep in my office because I never know what I'm going to walk into in my office. I could walk in and the heat could be like 90 degrees. I shit you not. I have had my office at 90 degrees before. Or there could be something else wrong and it could be 55. You just never know. So I have shawls and sweatshirts that I just leave at my office because I never know what I'm going to find when I come in. But this, all I have to do now is the edging. I think it's a 2 or 3 inch 2x2 ribbing at the bottom. And I have my little crabby stitch stoppers. I love these things. And you know, Marylanders and their crabs or their Old Bay, gotta have crabby stitch markers, crabby stitch stoppers. So hopefully that will be done next time I podcast. I know the beast will not be done. That cardigan will not be done. Maybe the sleeves. I highly doubt it because I've been flipping through projects like crazy. I get bored very easily right now. I don't know why. I think it's because we are just playing around with therapy medications and whatnots. So let's see. Next up, I will share my jelly roll blanket with you. So I have 5 strips done. And where is my... So here is my progress keeper from when I last shared it with you guys. So I managed to get all of this done. So all of this, all the way up to the top where I have my little barber cords is the top. So it's even, and then I did a whole another strip. And I am just adding in little nuggets from my leftover bags. They could be anywhere from maybe 3 grams to 8 or 9 gram leftovers. I'm trying to use up as many of my little bitty ones as I can. And this may be going into hibernation for the summer. Of course, it's pretty chilly here still, so I might be able to squeak out another column before I have to put it away because it is definitely getting heavier. Unless I can find some way, you know, I bet if I could find like a bed tray that I could sort of elevate that has like maybe legs or something, that I could put the blanket on top of that and keep it off my lap, I might be able to continue. But you know, I have 2 other blankets that are granny squares or granny solid squares that I have to finish up as well. So those can be done over the summer as well. So it's not that I'm lacking for anything to work on, that's for sure. But let me move this progress keeper up to the top of this row. Since I finished this row, this column I should say. So there we go. And we will put that aside for now. And then I have my DK weight socks. I've gotten a little further on them, but I haven't really picked these up much. I don't know why. I feel like I've sort of lost my sock mojo here. This is from Freckled Whimsy. It's their Serendipity DK. It's their 2023 Advent, and it's called Hearth and Home. So you can see it's their DK base. I am on stripe. Let me see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I am on stripe 13 of 24. So I'm going to do all 24 stripes and see where I am, where that's going to put me. Then I will put in my heels and see how much further I'm going to go before I cast off. This is the first time I am using a 24 striped DK weight sock advent, right? 24 stripe advent DK weight sock, whatever, you know what I mean. So there's supposed to be 24 different colors in this. I am on stripe 13. I love DK weight socks. They're soft, they're squishy. I need to dye up some because my sister, I made a pair of DK weight socks for my niece for her birthday last year. And my sister stole them from her. And she sent me a text, a picture of her wearing them saying, "Can you please make me more of these?" So I need to get back into my sock mojo and make her some DK weight socks that will probably be her birthday gift since her birthday's in August. And then let me see, next up, what's in this? This is a Harry Potter bag, the Marauders map. And I don't remember, I bought this off of Etsy, but I don't see the bag maker's name. And nope, there's nothing on the inside either. But this is my big love. This is a paid-for pattern. And it's Big Love by Annex-Strik. I am using Queensland Collection Uruguay Chunky in black. And this is how far I have gotten so far. This is the right side. So this is part of, yes, I'm making myself a black cardigan. So this is the back of the collar. And this is the back of the sweater. So I believe the collar is going to wind up doing a fold over like this. And I'm at the point where I'm going to be picking up, I think somewhere around here, and working down the front. But this also, this pattern, this stitch is a simple 4-row repeat. It's absolutely lovely. This is going to be a very dense cardigan because the pattern does surprisingly, I shouldn't say surprisingly, I don't know why I'm saying surprisingly. It calls for Let Lopey yarn. So it's calling for an Aran chunky yarn to begin with. And it's calling for 4mm needles. So I am using a chunky yarn and I am using 4mm needle. I'm using my signature size 6s. So these are 4mm. So the fabric is going to be very dense, which is going to be nice in the winter time. I'm actually really enjoying this knit. I've never made a cardigan in this construction, so I'm curious to see as to how this is going to work up, because like I said, this is the back, and my next section is I'm going to be picking up and knitting the right front, but this is the collar, so I haven't read through to see if the collar is going to connect. Yes, I read the pattern through before I started it to make sure I understood everything, because I know my friend Ellen is going to say something because I said I didn't read the pattern through, but I did read it through before I started. I just don't remember. And so I'm guessing I'm going to be picking up along the collar as well. So I'm interested to see how this is going to work. There was some short row shaping back here. I don't know if you're going to be able to, you see that's, it's kind of all ribbing. So there was short row shaping back there. So it's going to be nice because it's going to bring the collar up a little more and it'll bring the front down a little. So that will be nice. That should lay nicely. And I am really enjoying this knit. I cannot work on it for a long period of time. One, because it's black, but two, chunky weight on 4mm needles is hard on my hands. So that's one of the reasons why I tend to have several different projects going at once, because I do have issues with my hands and my knuckles sometimes, especially in the winter time. They say it's arthritis. I'm not willing to concede to that yet because I'm not old enough to have arthritis in my hands. So we will see. This will not be done anytime soon because, like I said, it is not something that I can work on for a long period of time. But I did start this during my weekend away. So I did a lot of starting things on my weekend away with the girls. Oh, something else I forgot to bring down. My Franken blanket. So it's my other scrappy blanket. This is my Granny Stripes, but I did a Franken blanket where I was doing, again, the crochet linen stitch. And I think when I sprained my wrist back in April, I couldn't do any knitting with this hand. But after a week, I was able to do some crochet, but obviously I didn't realize I wasn't really crocheting very well because my blanket started out as being 58 inches across the bottom, and somehow as I got halfway it shrunk down to 54 inches. So I don't know if I was crocheting tighter. I almost said knitting. I don't know if I was crocheting tighter. I don't know if maybe medication and pain had me skipping stitch. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But because of the way that I was making that blanket, I could not just rip it out and start over because I was holding two strands of fingering together, and every row I was switching a yarn color so that it would why can't my words are escaping my brain today? Marl, my God, so that the blanket and the colors would marl very nicely. So what I did over that weekend is I just started crocheting off the blanket, and my girlfriend Melissa was getting so confused because she thought I had two blankets going at once. It was quite amusing. But she was super, super confused about that. But I'll remember to bring that down and share it on the next episode. And then I said I had cast on a lot. So another thing that I had cast on, and this is in my lovely Scrappy Angel bag with the coffee gnomes. I absolutely love this bag. I did buy handles that I'm going to put on it from Amazon that I think pretty closely match this, and I need to find those handles. I don't know where they are. But I went ahead and I casted on the Riddari sweater for my dad. This is going to be his Christmas gift this year. And so this pattern is knit from the bottom up. And I have something in my eye. I am using the required yarn, so I'm using the Let Lopi. And I have the Let Lopi in the white. In the, oh, it doesn't have the colors on here. Okay, this is a red, like a barnyard. No, not a barn red. Definitely more, it's getting blown at it, but it's definitely more of a warm red. And then there's black. And then there's a light gray. And so it's casted on from the bottom up. And here's how far I am so far. So I hope this will block flat. This was when Kevin and Ray had their, I believe their 100th episode, they had a Zoom, and I had asked them for a recommendation, because out of all the sweaters that they knit, I asked them for a recommendation for a first sweater for my dad. And they said, definitely suggested something that was made with a non-superwash. And Ray really liked this pattern, so I went with his suggestion. My dad, his favorite color is red, so I went with the red as the main color of the sweater. Now my dad tends to wear layers, so even if this is a little scratchy, he will 9 times out of 10 be wearing it probably over 2 other shirts. You would never know that my parents live in New York the way my father dresses sometimes. It's hysterical. But anyway, so I'm quite pleased with this. I really do like the red. It's a shame that this is not a softer yarn, because I definitely could not wear this against my skin. It would drive me crazy. And honestly, I don't even know if I could wear it over a shirt. I may attempt to try this on when it's finished to see, but I have my little hot cocoa stitch stoppers here, and I am using my Chow-goo needles on, I don't even think I can read the size off of these. I kind of wish they would etch them in black so it would be easier to read. 4.5 millimeters, so that's a US size 7. So this is very nice. I'm enjoying knitting this. I'm at the, obviously I'm just, you know, it's perfect movie knitting because you're just knitting round and round. At some point I will need to, I believe, start the sleeves. And then when the sleeves are long enough, they will attach, and then I will be, so I've never made, this is also, I've never made a bottom up colorwork sweater before. So first of all, I haven't made a whole lot of colorwork sweaters to begin with. So this is, I knit a colorwork sweater for my niece several times. If you have watched past episodes, you know the saga of my niece that apparently grows like a weed. And so her sweaters were all top down. So this is a bottom up. So it'll be a new construction style for me in regards to color knit, or color work, I guess I should say. I did find the way this sweater is at the bottom very interesting, because it's got a rolled hem and then it goes into about 1 inch of 2x2 ribbing before it goes into the color work here. So I'm just hoping that when I block this, because right now it's flipping up on that edge, I'm just hoping when I block it, I can block it to lay down. Otherwise I'm going to be sending Ray some messages. How do I fix this? And so that is Dad's Christmas gift once it's finished. I'm being smart this year, and I'm trying to get Christmas gifts done and out of the way earlier. So I'm working on that, and at some point, maybe when this is, either when this is halfway done or when I can no longer knit on this because it's too hot, I will probably pull out the yarn to knit my mom's Christmas sweater. Not that it's going to be a Christmas sweater, but it's going to be a Christmas sweater. And then I have another crochet project I started. I decided to attempt to make myself one of those hexie cardigans. And so I went through and I looked at what yarns I had, and I thought I would try it with mandala yarn first to see if I even liked how this would fit on me. So here is, this is the Genie colorway. So here is that. So that will be like the top, that will be my arm. So maybe another row, I'm not quite sure. And then this will be the front and the back. I'm thinking I have both hexies complete, and well, not completed, but started. And I followed the same color color repeat. So if the skein didn't start the same way, I just went to the color that I started with so that they would look similar on both sides. And I'm thinking that once I get these to a size that would work for me, I'm thinking I might do little granny squares down the back to connect it instead of doing a granny stripe up and down. But these color repeats are pretty long, so I may have to do some color management and see if I can get that to work. But this is, each one of these panels is so far one skein of mandala yarn, and I still have 2 more skeins to go. And I had started this in a different project and pulled it out, but you could see I was trying to do some color management here. So this is a whole skein here, and then I have another one, but I might clip this together and try it on and see how much more I need, because I don't want to make it too long. And then, I mean, I don't want to make, what am I trying to say? So as we can see here, if this is the shoulder seam, I guess I better do the other arm because you can't see that arm. So if this is the shoulder seam here, I can only do maybe another row or 2, maybe 3 before, well, maybe 2, because it's going to give me another row here. And so the arm would be long enough. I believe there'll be enough for my depth, so that should be good. And I think I am going to keep it open like the kimono style. I don't think I'm going to cinch this close. I think I'm going to leave it open. So we will see. But that was, again, it's the mandala yarn. It is the Genie colorway. So you can see it's got the beautiful greens and grays. I am using a 5mm hook for this, and I am enjoying it very, very much. This would actually be my first official crochet garment piece. I have crocheted, well, I've crocheted hats and scarves, but I call those accessories. I don't really call those a garment. But you could see that I have to add in, because I finished the row here, so I need to add in and finish to here. And then these will both be the same amount. And then I can figure out what I'm going to do to connect them in the back. And then my last, oops, what's this? Oh, this is my Big Love pattern. Let me not lose that pattern. I have 2 more projects to share. One is a fail. I had this skein of Rowan pure linen in my stash, and I have a few others. I don't know where they went, but they were different colors. And I was thinking for the summer it would be nice to have a nice light like Sophie scarf, but this color is not my color. I think it would just sort of wash me out. So I'm frogging this. This yarn is not the greatest to work with. It's a very stiff feeling. So it's 100% pure linen, but as we all know, or if you don't know, linen softens up beautifully in the wash. And I thought making a linen one would be perfect, because even though I would sweat in the summer, this can be thrown in the washing machine and it would come out even softer, which would make it even nicer. But this is not a color for me. So this is going to get frogged, and I don't know what I'm going to do as I sit here and frog it while speaking to you guys. Let me put that aside. So that was a fail. And then lastly, I went ahead and started another Be Simple variation shawl. And this is being knit on Malabrigo's Arroyo in the Marte, M-A-R-T-E colorway. So this is a skein that's approximately 300 and some odd yarns. It's got some lovely, lovely colors in it. It's a nice warm coloring. Not really my colorings, but I had this skein in my stash, so I figured one skein I could knit this up. It would keep me busy, and it could be thrown in the gift basket. I am using, let me see, what are these? 5mm, so that's a US 8. And for the life of me, I don't remember who makes these needles, but they were in my stash. I'm not particularly fond of these needles. That's probably why I haven't used them all that much. They're not very pointy, and I feel like it's constantly catching the yarn in the wrong way. So these needles might be put in the bin for the yarn swap that we have coming up next month in my knitting group. And that is all I have for whips, as if that wasn't enough. So the only other things I have to share is a purchase that I made. I saw my friend Lori was had one of these at the retreat. And what is in my eye? So my friend Lori had one of these at the retreat. Again, something in my eye. And I thought this would be perfect for me. It's called the Beam and Read Light. And I do have one of these. You know, it goes around your neck, and it, you know, you could turn them on. Yeah, they're bendable. This one, I believe you can even, no, you can't stand it up. But anyway, and it's, you know, you just charge it up. It's rechargeable. It's not battery operated. The problem with these, for me at least, is they aren't long enough to go over my boobs. And so it doesn't really help me when I'm knitting at night. But this one, oops, it pops up so you can like angle it. and I have to get batteries for it. I have to get AA batteries for it, but anywho, this pops up, so even if it sits on my boobs, the light is coming forward a bit. So I'm going to be trying that out as soon as I get batteries for it. But it seemed to work great for Lori at the retreat. So hopefully this will work for me. Oh, by the way, hi Lori and Margaret's mom. I hear you enjoy my show. Next thing I'm going to share with you guys is Happy Mail. I got this skein from Liz, the Black Knitter. For the month of February, she hosts a Black History Month knit-along. And if you are using a yarn by a BIPOC creator, like dyed by a BIPOC creator, or pattern written by a BIPOC creator, or if you purchase the yarn from a Black-owned yarn, local yarn shop owner, you had an entry into her make-along. I was doing my Rygate hat, which was made with Passion Knit Yarns, which is a Black-owned indie dye company. And I also attended, she was hosting some Zooms, some live Zooms every Monday where we would just sit and chat and knit and share. And I won a skein of this beautiful yarn. It is called Esther Jones. It is a fox sock by Sheep Yarn Company, the yarn company. And it's 75% superwash merino, 25% recycled nylon, 432 yards. And the story behind Esther Jones is was a young African American, I guess almost like I don't know if it's vaudeville, but a young African American female who had a character, who her persona, I should say, on stage was used to create the character for Betty Boop. Now there's a whole lot of controversy over, not controversy, but speculation, because there was also another actress who attempted to sue the company, saying that Betty Boop was created on her persona. But if you go back even further, it looks like this woman took her persona from Esther Jones. And so I have this lovely, lovely skein of sock yarn that I won from the very first Zoom. And lastly is I have a little gift away for all of you viewers. So I went through my stash and I found this beautiful, beautiful skein of Magpie Fibers yarn. It is her swanky sock base. So that's 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon, and it's 378 yards. The colorway is called Fizz Gig, and it's this beautiful blues and greens, almost like if you were in like a beautiful, like the Cayman Islands waters. Oh. And so this is going to be a gift away. All you need to do is comment down below, and I will use the random comment picker for YouTube and pick a winner for this on my next episode. So that is all I have for you folks today. I truly, truly appreciate you spending this time with me on a Saturday afternoon, or at least it's a Saturday afternoon for me. I don't know what day you guys are watching it, but I do appreciate you spending time with me and coming back and returning. If you have enjoyed this episode, if you have gotten anything from this episode, I would truly appreciate you hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe, and ringing that bell so that you get notified every time I put out a new episode. I truly, truly appreciate all the comments that you guys share with me. I read them all. I respond, or I at least like them. It truly does help my channel grow and get shared and suggested to other folks. The more likes and the more interaction with comments helps the algorithm get me out there, and I would so appreciate that. Don't forget to write a comment if you would like to win this beautiful skein of yarn. And I hope to see you all again in 2 weeks. I'm hoping there will be no more deaths to sidetrack me, derail me. So without further ado, happy knitting, happy crocheting. Have a wonderful, wonderful time. Do things that bring you joy. Ciao, ciao. Love you guys.